Hey guys, I'm going to show you a little bit about how the Profit First works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you. So this is a kind of fake example, but this is kind of realistic as well. So you don't need to know my address. We're going to do a Profit First for real estate. That's really the trick. So you guys have been asking me a little bit about that. I don't know if people want this much detail, but I did a what do you call it? A TikTok about it, but it was very short form. So I thought maybe you want to know a little bit more detail. So that's the idea of this one, which is you make percentages for each thing.
Percentages, baby.
So what I usually do is most rentals have a stabilization period and then they have a success period. So I have different percentages sometimes for the stabilization period to the post stabilization. But this one is a build to rent. So it's basically ready to go right from the beginning. So this is kind of false. So as you see, the numbers are the same. But then I add a couple things like how much the mortgage pay down is each month, which is cool. I didn't do this month actually. And then I do, just because I like to see this, what is the profit of the pay down plus the cash flow, just to have an idea of what that is. Because you see these numbers get a little bit higher. Look at 325 here. So anyway, what the hell is this? That's your question, really. So profit first, let's start with the profit. So the first thing we do is we figure out how much profit we're going to take each month from the rental. So at the top, you see the rent coming in, which is $14.75. This is the number that Suncoast, my property management company, automatically takes out. Now at the bottom, you'll see I set aside 8%. It doesn't always work out that way because there's deferred costs and stuff, especially in the beginning, because I paid a broker's fee to get the renter in. But that starts to come back down to earth. And the trick of all of Profit First is to always have money set aside. And the thing that it really does, it takes the bite out of it. So in other words, even if you're a little short, at least you don't have to come up with whatever the property management money is. You have some set aside and then you take the rest from somewhere else. But Profit First, the very first thing you do every month is you pay yourself the profit.
You pay yourself first. I like the sound of that.
So in June, it was $19.01. In July, it was $20.10, $20.65, 66 if you want to round up. So it doesn't sound like much, but what you do with the profit is you split that quarterly. So quarterly, you're splitting about $60. Buy yourself a really nice lunch or a couple of weeks of lattes, whatever you want to do. For me, almost all of it goes to my credit card. Then 8% is for owner's pay. So that's just like my salary for doing this. That's what I make each month. So again, $100 is not like a ton of money, but say you have 10 of these, not bad. And that's kind of the plan, is that all of this is set so that it's a functioning business and it's easy to repeat, because that's really the trick. Just a little bit bigger picture. What I'd like to do is have, a certain set amount added in cash flow every single year, maybe 3,000, 5,000. So this kind of lets you do it essentially this amount at a time. That's really what the cash flow is. So after that, you have money for tax. You got to set aside money for tax. So what you want to do with these numbers is you want to figure out, well, how much am I paying for the month or the year, that is, and then divide that by 12 and then collect that from yourself. So I needed to have about $45 a month. So 3.5% did it. Then I have vacancy, repairs, and CapEx all together. In some accounts, I separate them. Like I said before, this is build to rent. So the CapEx is kind of non-existent right now.
There's no CapEx.
So it's easy to put it together. But if I was buying something that's 40 years old and I knew there was going to be roof replacements and water heaters going out and stuff, then I might separate it and put a little bit more money in. I usually put about 13 to 15% for vacancy, maintenance, and CapEx. For older stuff, for newer stuff, I go with 9%. So here you go. You have about $100 to $120 a month going there. So if there's ever a vacancy, I already have money set aside to pay a broker's fee or pay for the turn or whatever needs to be done. Then I know the mortgage amount, so I just need to figure out a percentage that kind of gets us there. On this one, it's about 70%. It's a brand new loan. So what'll happen is as the rent goes up, the percentage will actually go down. Maybe next year it'll be 67%, and then 65%, and 60%, 50%. So it'll keep going down. So you have to adjust these numbers. Like as you are in real life, you have to go, wait a second, I don't need 70% to pay my mortgage. I only need 65% to pay my mortgage or whatever it is. So you know your numbers, so fill that in. And then, like I said before, I pay 8% to property management. So this sets it aside, but obviously it's a little bit higher right now because I'm paying for some kind of startup stuff. But then as you go down the road, this is going to drop down. You can see it really already has. So it'll start to hit those 8% numbers. And that's it. And then I often leave like a couple percentage points. Sometimes I won't go to quite 100. I'll go to say 98%. That's if my bank charges me fees. That's to just cover, like, if some banks will charge you $5 a month to keep the thing going, or I've seen Bank of America charge as high as 18. I don't recommend any big banks for the system. You're much better off with any kind of bank that actually really is happy to have your business, like a credit union or a small local bank. And then you tell them, I want one account for profit, one account for owner's pay, one account for tax, one for CapEx, one for bank, and one for property management, or one for, usually call this a operating account. It'll pay whatever expenses I might also have to pay, like electricity or something. So that's pretty much it. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts at your bank. So that's why you really don't want them to charge you a fee, because if it's $5 at 6, it's $30 a month, which is too much. So better to use a small bank who's just happy to have your business. I used Bank of America for one, and I would never do that again. Since then, I've used small local banks, commercial banks that I chose them because they have a bad reputation and they're really perfect. So that's really it. If you have any questions, just leave some comments below, and I'm happy to try to explain this to you in more detail. But I think those are the basics. Any questions? Profit First is this system of using multiple accounts to make sure that you always pay yourself. Because the number one mistake we can make as business people is to reinvest all our money into our business and not actually take it out. That's how you end up not having any money. And even operating and I know people where their vacancy and maintenance and stuff is more costly than their profits. And they don't even realize it. So you want to make sure you're not running at a deficit, that you're creating a surplus. And every time you do create a surplus, you want to start breaking it up. And what's also cool about this is by doing it every 3 months, quarterly, you usually have some money left over, which means if you miscalculate something, at least you're not broke and coming out of pocket. The one thing I never want to do with my rental business is ever come out of pocket for anything. Everything should be paid for by the business, and this system ensures that happens. Any other question? What's what? What's profit second? Okay. Any questions, let me know. I hope this was helpful. Just put questions below and subscribe. And let me know what else you want to learn about. I'm happy to explain stuff.
Subscribe.